All right, welcome back everybody to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the 2023 Ford Ranger XLT. Let's see what we got. Taking a look right away at the front. You actually have halogen headlights, so not your normal LED headlights that we're used to. Fog lights as well. Nice tow hooks there too. Really nice front end with that red and black color. It stands out so well and looks really cool. Side profile now, you got these huge wheels on these things, and also look at the shocks in there. Look at the springs in there for the lifted suspension. This version of the Ranger is really meant for the off-road drive. Coming around to the rear now of the Ford Ranger, you can see that you have that nice FX4 off-road logo, which tells you that this XLT version is meant for the off-road. It definitely does drive like it. You got about 7,500 towing capacity and about a 1,600 payload capacity. Talking about payload, let's take a look at the bed. Look at this nice, I love this nice big Ford logo right here, and also you can see the Ranger that goes right across here. Open the tailgate here. It's not automatic, but it is super light, so no problem, and just enough space for literally anything you need. And it's got 4 tie down points as well, so super nice, really good. Is exactly what you'd expect out of a pickup of this size. Under the hood of this Ford Ranger XLT, you have a 2.3 liter EcoBoost engine that does 290 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. So pretty good. That torque is going to come in really handy when you're towing, stuff like that, and also just driving in this winter 4x4 all-wheel drive and also two-wheel drive. Super nice to have. It does the power delivery very well, and you're not going to slide around too much, which is nice. So with that being said, let's take a look at the interior of this Ford Ranger. So starting off with the rear, like I said, this is the crew cab, so it seats 5, and you could see just going in here that there is enough room, but just enough room. It is very high up too. There's no step to get in. This being the all-wheel version, you'd think there would be, but alas, there is not. So here we are in the interior of the Ford Ranger. You can see some of my stuff here. Got good amount of storage, good amount of space, just enough leg room. I'm sitting, and these seats are indented, so that's good, because if they weren't, we'd be in some trouble here and I wouldn't be able to fit too well at all. Just enough headroom too, not too bad, nothing really to complain about. It does give you 5 seats and a nice pickup bed too. Down here you got nice 2 USB chargers and a 150 watt full power outlet. That's nice. A little bit of storage here, no vents, but again, it's really compact in here, so I don't know how much that matters. But let's go ahead and take a look at the front of the car. All right, so entering the front, you have these cool things on the door here where you could actually set a passcode, but if you want to unlock it with a key, you have to use this. There's no one button press to unlock it. You're stuck using the key fob or this, and that doesn't make a lot of sense, but anyways, that's what that is. So here we are, let's hop in. Again, no step to get in the front seats either, but no big deal. I'm tall enough, but if you're smaller, that might be an issue, so you might want to spring for that on the Ford configurator. Anyways, here we are on the inside of the Ford Ranger. It is nice. I mean, it's comfortable, and it's on the boring side. There's a lot of plastics in here, like a whole bunch of plastics in here, and I get that's maybe to stay in the price point of around, we'll say 43K, 45K, depending on your configurations. Honestly, I think that might be too much for what you get on the interior. Exterior is really nice, but on the interior, maybe it's just missing a little bit. But let's go over it anyways. Let's see what it's got to offer. So down here, you do have heated seats, no cooled seats, but that's fine. In this price point, I'm not expecting that. You have dual zone automatic climate control. That's nice to have. And then you have different HVAC buttons, but not all the HVAC buttons. Unfortunately, most of the HVAC controls are actually controlled by the infotainment. It's okay. So far, the infotainment hasn't lagged out on me or anything, so I'll give it a pass there, but I would have liked to see the HVAC stuff be on the bottom here. They do have enough room, I think, to do that. Nice shifter here. It feels nice. It's nice and big, so you don't have to like stretch your arm down. And I don't really like it when it's on the steering wheel too much, so I like that. You got your little knob here, your little dial, whatever you want to call it, for your 4 low, 4 high, and 2-wheel drive high. So this changes your drive modes. And then this is your terrain button, which will change your terrain from like mud, snow, sand, whatever you're driving, and you can change it for that. You have your different hill descents, suspension lock, towing mode. You can turn your parking sensors on and off. This car does have front and rear parking sensors that are pretty good and nice to have. So again, on this trim, nice to have. The seats, as you can see here, are just cloth. There is no leather. This isn't the Tremor trim, so you're just getting very basic stuff from kind of a high price point, like I said, but it's got a nice, Ford does try to separate the tones in here, so I will give it to them for that. It does look good there. The Ranger badging looks cool too. Plenty of storage, lockable glove box, all the stuff you need. Steering wheel does look a little bit like they took it from a Ford Focus. So does this kind of whole area right here. Does look a little bit Ford Focusy to me. But anyways, they had to cut corners somewhere, I guess, to give you the nice exterior. But anyways, that gauge cluster there is just makes it look a little bit dated. There is quite a few things in this car that make it look a little bit dated, but you have all the information that you need. There's really not a lot of things that you can display at the same time, but personally, I found it fine, right? If you're in the market for a compact pickup, then you're going to be fine just with this. So overall, the interior does look a little dated for a 2023. It doesn't really look like a 2023 on the inside of the car. On the exterior, yes, I'd give it to the fact that yes, it does look like a 2023, missing the LED headlights, but we'll take the halogens. They're fine. It's not a big deal. So yeah, that's going to do it for the interior exterior tour of the Ford Ranger. Let me strap the GoPro on my forehead as always, and we'll let you know how this thing drives in whatever weather conditions we're in right now, because it's just doing whatever. So let's check it out. All right, so here we are inside driving the 2023 Ford Ranger. It is quite a decent drive, right? Like it does everything that I would expect a pickup to do. You're gonna hear me probably say that a lot because it does all the basics really well. It's just when you kind of get into it that it's missing a few things, in my opinion. So let's talk about how it drives mainly. So handling is okay. Obviously it's a pickup, so it's not gonna pull you through corners like a race car would. It's not a race car at all. It's fast in a straight line, which you'll see in a little bit, and it just really does the pickup stuff well. Like, it is fast and straight line. It's got enough speed to overtake. I'm not really pressed for speed or anything. It sounds all right. There's no nice exhaust noise, right? It's not supercharged. It's an EcoBoost engine, right? So you're not really expecting much. It is doing well on fuel though. I'm about 13.3 liters per 100 kilometers. So that's good. I'm actually under than what I expected. I expected that we would have a lot of weight, so we'd use a lot of fuel, but actually it's close to some cars that we see today. So that's not bad. Overall, the steering feeling is all right? And I mean, the steering is a bit stiff, even in non-sport mode. This car does have a sport mode, but even in non-sport mode, the steering wheel just feels a little bit stiffer than I would like, or that I'm used to anyways. And it's like, you don't really want that. You kind of want to be smooth with the steering wheel with the pickup of this size, but unfortunately, that is where we are. It's just a stiff steering wheel, and that's it. The suspension feels all right. It's definitely comfortable. I mean, I like going on normal roads like I am now, dry roads, no problem. It does bounce around a lot. Like, it'll kind of toss you around just a little bit, especially going through heavy bumpy areas. And in Quebec, we have a lot of those. So the suspension will kind of bounce around, but it could be to the fact that it's lifted, right? I think the suspension is a lifted suspension. It's meant for really more off-road driving than anything else. But to get to the off-road driving, you'll be perfectly comfortable, I think. This car, of course, has like all the your standard, blind spot monitoring, cruise control, automatic cruise control, all stuff like that. So doing road trips should be easy, relatively comfortable, especially on flat roads like we said. So no problems there either. Everything is nicely laid out where, I can kind of reach and see everything at a glance as the driver. I don't really have any blind spots. Back there is good. Back here over my shoulder is good too. Always check your blind spots because you never know. Even though you have the systems to protect you, you still need to check those things. So those are good. The visibility is good. I don't really have too much. I can see my visibility in the truck is very good, and we're high up, right? So we like being a little bit higher in these trucks, especially if you're somebody that likes a higher ride height. Well, this is definitely going to do it because we are quite high off the ground. So I mentioned that this car does have a sport mode, and if I go ahead and I pop it in to sport mode, and then I punch the car, there's somebody in front of me, so I'll have to be careful, but I can punch it, and that's 100, right? And even from a rolling stop, this car's torque really takes you a little bit by surprise. I mean, it's not like electric fast, it's not gonna be like the Ford F-150. I'm sure the Ford F-150 is much faster than this one in a straight line, but this car does have the juice in it when you need it, right? And it's fun. I mean, it's really fun to use that. It's really quite fast in a straight line. You're not gonna have any problems with people tailgating you or anything. If you want to get away, boom, you're gone. So really cool. The horsepower is enough for what this car is. It's not a huge, massive pickup with massive body kit, so it's not too much weight to pull around. But if you're towing something, obviously you're going to be a little bit slower, but that extra torque will come in handy. So a couple of years ago, or maybe not even, maybe more recently than that, Ford decided, hey, we're done with cars. Besides the Mustang, we've had it. We're not going to do cars anymore. We're only going to do SUVs, and we're going to focus on our trucks as well. We're going to go full steam into that and focus only on that and put all our efforts into that. And I think that's a good idea. And I think it worked because some other manufacturers have followed suit, right? But when it comes to the Ford Ranger, I don't know, some parts of me feels like they just kind of forgot it, because they have the Bronco, they have the F-150, they have different versions of the F-150, and then, you know, there's also the Ranger. The Ranger feels kind of like an afterthought, just because the interior is a little bit dated. The exterior is really nice, but the interior just looks a little bit dated. It looks like they kind of slapped it together and was just like, here's the Ranger if you want it. And unfortunately, to get like the leather seats and stuff, you have to go way higher up in trim. We already have like a $3,000 add-on package, and you know, we get kind of like the basic stuff that we're seeing in a lot of base models now. Just to have that, you got to go up in trim, and it's like, it's unfortunate because it is a decent pickup, but I feel like for the $46,000 price point that Ford's asking for, I feel like you're just going to miss a lot of that core market that you're looking for. And I think I would recommend maybe getting this car to lower than MSRP if you could, just because it's lacking a lot of those features. Like, for example, there's no push to start. This is the first time in 2023, although we're only 2 months into it pretty much, that I've had to use a key ignition. I know, I get it, I'm spoiled. I don't, you know, I have push to start, but for the price that they're asking, it wouldn't have hurt them to put on a push to start button, especially considering that we can start the car from the key fob. So it is able to start without an ignition. They could have just went that little extra bit and given us, you know, a push to start button. It wouldn't have hurt. Another thing I want to mention to make you guys aware of is that the brake in this Ranger is strange. And what I mean by that is it's got a little bit more travel to it than I'm used to. That could just be how all the Rangers drive. It could be because I'm new to it, but for me, I just noticed like there's a lot of travel for the, and it only bites kind of later on. Don't get me wrong, you will be able to stop. It's just something to get used to, right? I spend a week with this car, right? And it took me about 2 days to adjust to it. So it's not horrible in the sense that you could never adjust to it. It's just something to keep in mind. And it's something I'd really recommend that you try out before you buy. I would not just blindly buy this car because it might be something that you don't like. So overall, the Ford Ranger has been an absolute pleasure to drive in the winter. It's not been terrible. It warms up quickly. The fact that I can start the car from my house is really nice, and I'm glad that they have it. You know, that's not a complaint. The fact that it's missing the automatic, you know, push button start is, you know, is a minus for the car, but it's not a deal breaker, right? Because you could still start it from outside the car. When you get in, bang, it's warm. The only thing I'd say too about winter driving is the fact that for some reason in two-wheel drive, it absolutely breaks traction like you wouldn't believe. Like the rear end just wants to come out, and the traction control is on, and I'm slipping more than I think I should be for a vehicle of this weight and the mass of the tires. But the good news is if you pop it into four-wheel drive high, well, then you're going to be completely fine. You're not going to break traction at all. All the wheels are able to divert power differently, and you will be absolutely set. It's just to keep that in mind that it's two-wheel driving, you're going to notice a lot of slipping, and it's a little bit unnormal. Like, you know, I notice SUVs with the same kind of thing where you can change two-wheel or four-wheel and you don't slip in two-wheel, but this one you are, so just keep that in mind. So final thoughts on the Ford Ranger. It is a very good pickup truck that does exactly what you want it to do. It's just not really worth its MSRP price, in my opinion. It's just missing little things that could be better, like leather seats, stuff like that. Especially in like the 40. Once you get up into the 40s, I'm expecting leather seats. I'm expecting, you know, a better setup in terms of, you know, HVAC controls. It's just little stuff. I'm expecting a push start button. You know, it's little stuff like that I'm just kind of expecting. And if it's not there, well, then I don't know if I really want to pay that price for it. But if you're somebody who does want to pay the price for it, then, you know, it's an absolutely great car for what you need it for, right? It's meant to be used. It's meant to be taken off-road, which we can't do. You know, maybe one day we'll get invited to one of Ford's media events and I'll be able to show you this car in its absolute element off-road. You know, I mean Quebec roads is like maybe a fraction of it because we drive through, like, you know, crap potholes and all that, but it's nothing like the real off-road, and I love to see how this car performs in off-road conditions. But my week has been very good. I haven't had too many things I'm like, oh my god, I don't like that. You know, it's definitely going to be worth less than MSRP, but if you want to pay that money, I mean, that's completely up to you. Just because I don't think that it's worth that money doesn't mean you should, and doesn't mean you shouldn't want the vehicle because of that. But anyways, I think that's going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to wrap the video up here. Let me know if you're in the market for a Ford Ranger. Let me know what you think of the Ford Ranger. Do you think the interior is dated? Do you think that I'm wrong? I could be. You know, this is just a review. This is one man's opinion. Let me hear yours. I want to hear yours, and let's have a discussion about what we think about the Ford Ranger. Do you have an older Ford Ranger? I've seen quite a bit of older Ford Rangers, not so much the new ones around here. But let me know. Let me know if you're in the market. Let me know if you own one. Let me know what you think. Let me know every single thing you want. Let's have that conversation in the comments. You can follow me on Instagram. Check out the video on PRN where it's you get a more full tour of the car on that channel as well. This is more focused on the driving. So I hope I've helped you in some sort of way. I hope you decide whether or not you actually want to pick up the Ford Ranger or go take it for a test drive or look at it, or you're going to consider maybe the F-150 instead. The Raptor version is not available on this. But anyways, that will do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Make sure that you subscribe. That always encourages me to go further, and you'll see it every time I have a new car for you. And there'll be more pickups to come in the future. So I've got one booked for next month actually, so that's good. So that being said, I'll go ahead and get out of your hair before I ramble for too much longer, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.